games to find out that they've been postponed last minute can chuck some rotten old shitty fruit at them.
But if they've got COVID, would you want to get that close?
You wouldn't need to get that close, would you?
I've seen you throw, so you would.
Just to place it on them.
Yeah, I was going to stick a tomato in the
We teed that one right up.
Fucking nubbers.
So, I just had a quick scout around the Premier League's website. The clubs have an opportunity to propose new rules or amendments at the shareholder meeting. Each member club is entitled to one vote, and all rule changes and major commercial contracts require the support of at least a 2/3 majority, 14 clubs.
Okay, so you could see that happening. I think you can see that happening. Okay, cool.
But just to make a point there, where you're just saying, right, petition's all a bit Liverpool. We should just kind of dry, dry our eyes and get over it. But all the points that you've raised, if they, in terms of fixture congestion, what happens if we've got players out on injury through overplaying, etc., and then that costs us points, and we don't get to a certain position in the league that we want to get to, you'll be crying about it too. We'll be saying
I won't start a petition.
No. But the point,
but it needs to be like Simon, as you said, it's something that needs to be discussed within the Premier League. You've just said there's 14 clubs can pass a motion. These petitions, as far as I know, go to government. They don't go to the Premier League. They go to government. So are we wanting them to discuss this in the House of Commons for them to then say to the Premier League, look, Boris, who no fucker wants to listen to anyway, is telling you that you need to discuss this and sort it out.
Well, there's two things here. So firstly, if they've started a government petition rather than a change.org petition, then yes, clearly that leads to triggering a debate in the House of Commons, which is a bit pointless because this is a private enterprise. They won't want to spend time talking about this in the House of Commons. If they've started a private one and it's actually something which potentially affects all football fans, if certain clubs start fiddling, start kind of manipulating the rules to suit their own ends, then that's actually something that affects all fans, and all fans potentially should be interested in that and actually should start drawing attention to it, because otherwise they could be the ones that are affected by it in the future. It's like saying, it's like the old poem, if you don't stand up and be counted when it's not your turn, when it is your turn, no one's there to support you.
Yeah, no, that's a valid point, but it doesn't mean to say that the Premier League will pay any attention to this petition. I think that's,
of course not. It's about making noise, isn't it? And about registering the dissatisfaction of the supporters.
Well, but I think it needs to. I think you, I think in terms of timing of petitions, I think you, as a club, for example, or this whoever's raised this, you raise this, when someone, if you genuinely feel that this is an issue, you raise this when you first feel that it's an issue. Like, for example, Gary Neville, like suddenly at the weekend, started talking about how it's ridiculous that clubs can call off fixtures, when they don't have enough cases. Enough is enough. Man United did it 3 or 4 weeks ago, and I should have spoke then, but I didn't. I should have spoke when Man United were going through the same. And this is my point. He didn't. All of a sudden, it's an issue this time, but it wasn't an issue when he, as far as he's concerned, his club benefited from it.
Exactly, because he played the advantage.
To talk when it's not directly impacting into you. That's the best time to talk, because that's when people will listen, when they say, oh, this is not something that directly impacts you, but you have a vested interest and you've chosen to speak up and show your support for something that actually you didn't need to speak about because you're no longer, you weren't directly impacted at that moment in time. So, for example, if she'd raised this as an issue, I don't know, when Leicester or Liverpool called it off for games that were unrelated to Spurs, then fine. Then there has more credibility.
Or the Premier League in general, or the situation in the Premier League in general, not just.
It has more credibility than coming across with a victim culture of saying, right, well, like, you know, we're not happy. I'm raising a petition. That is how it's come across.
I somewhat get that. However, there was I think a feeling across the fan base that the rules were, you know, this rule was there for genuine purposes, and I think it's the first time potentially we've been seeing it being used for what we feel are ungenuine purposes. So obviously
obvious.
Yes, obvious.
Whereas
yes.
What it has highlighted is that other clubs have probably done the same thing, where it's been a little bit more marginal, and they've you know, they've put in and it people have not raised as much of an eyebrow around it because
it hasn't been so blatant.
It hasn't been so blatant. So anyway, yeah. So I think, Simon, valid points. Okay, so a couple of quick things then. So if we I think Jamie, I think you might have mentioned that we were in the halfway through a transfer window. Looks like based on some stuff coming out today, we might be close to securing Traore. From what I've seen in I mean, this is just Twitter accounts, so, you know, it could be all bollocks. But I just, it was interesting that one of the tweets that I saw said, like, you know, we might be close to securing him, but then also said, and I totally agree personally, that he's not necessarily what we need. So in the tweet said he's not necessarily what we need, but then also in the same tweet said BackConte. Now, I just found that a contradiction, because we don't necessarily know that actually this isn't a Conte inspired decision or Conte inspired signing. So how can you say, well, the player that's been targeted to be brought in, we don't need him, but then also say, but we should be backing the manager, if that's potentially the manager's choice.
I saw something that Traore was looking at a different club.
Okay.
Barcelona, wasn't it?
Barcelona, something like that. He's going to wait until the end of the season, and then Barcelona was an option for him, is what I read.
You see, do you know why?
Don't shoot the messenger.
do you know why? Because he's heard that Ben Dembele, who's at Barcelona, has just asked for 700,000 euros, I think, per week or some bollocks.
And you wonder why Barcelona is skint.
Yeah, I mean, 700,000 euros per week. I mean, you know, he must have supreme self-confidence. But anyway, okay, so Simon, you don't think that it's close to happening?
Who knows? I'm just saying that, you know, as with every yin, there's a yang. So, you know,
I mean,
who knows? Who knows? It's a toss of a coin.
It could work. It could work for him, because I think, you know, there's a lot of talk about the fact that we're not buying him. We're looking to loan him to the end of the season with Wolves are putting in apparently an obligation to buy, but I guess if Traore wants to go to Barcelona, he'd probably put in with an option to buy, which means that he could turn down that option if Barcelona come calling, because he suddenly performed, I guess, in the second half of the season. I mean, personally, I don't personally think he's what we're after. But
Steve, also that, you know, talking about that player, that Conte himself said that he'd had a meeting with Paratici and Levy and outlined as we said before, his evaluation of the squad, but also put forward who he thought would, the players he needs. So I can't really see Paratici going out, and if we are indeed looking at him and just saying, yeah, I've heard you there, but I'm going to get him instead. So I think that he's, you know, he must be someone that he can see he's got a plan for. You know, you're not going to buy someone like that otherwise, are you, really?
Yeah,
I'm of the view that if Conte genuinely wants Traore, then yeah, go for it. I mean, look at what he did to Victor Moses a few seasons ago. Turned him into an absolute world beater.
I wouldn't go that far, but yeah.
Well, in comparison to the level he was at before Conte arrived, he was,
100%.
he
I
was
think you're right.
blinding.
And like DT, who's an absolute wife beater.
Okay, let's leave him off of our pod, shall we? Okay, so moving on to on this day today, Eric Lamela won the Puskas Award for his Rabona against Plumstead. So congratulations to Eric Lamela. I think I saw somewhere.
Does he listen to the pod?
He does, apparently.
Of course he does. Yeah,
he listens to. He's fully coys, so he listens to all the Spurs related podcasts, and apparently we're right up there in his list of listening. So, Eric, if you're listening, this is Wazza congratulating you, and Jamie was the one that's ridiculing the fact that you might be listening, but we won't get into that. But I'm pretty sure that's the same game that he got sent off in. So, as good as it is for him personally to have won that award, he fucked it up for us on the day. So it's a bit, take it with a bit of pinch of salt, bastard.
Yeah, fuck you, Eric, if you're listening.
we all know he does. We all know he does. And again, that was Jamie, Eric, if you're listening and you want to know. Okay, cool. So we got a couple of previews, predictions, hopefully. So the first, go on, Lee.
Before we get on to that, sorry, I just wanted to talk about Ndombele once more, because did you not hear that he's been asked to do conditioning training, where he's been basically training by himself? And I just wondered what you guys thought of this. Is that a tactic to force him out? Because, there's been lots of rumours that he wanted to go to certain elite clubs, and perhaps they're not in for him because they've seen his performances have not really merited it. So we're sort of saying, look, you're not in our plans anymore. You may have to lower your sights in the type of club you need because you're going to be training by yourself for a while. Or do you think that, because I don't think he's unfit. So I'm not sure what that strategy is about then.
Well, he's clearly not fit enough for Spurs. Like, it's clearly not fit enough for what Conte wants. So, I mean, I was kind of, it's difficult to work out how to, how to read it, because initially I just thought he'd been banished, like go and train on your own until you get a move. And then they added the context that actually there was it was conditioning training. And I thought, well, okay, what is that all about? What, if we're trying to get rid of him, why the fuck do we care what condition he's in? We're trying to get rid of him.
I suspect that's just to save face, and I don't. Does he really need that? I mean, he's been training and playing alongside the squad anyway. But
how does it save face if you're telling you're saying that someone that's been with the club for a couple of years and this at this stage in the season he's not been injured, Lee. He's not been injured. No. There's no professed injury, so there'd be no valid reason for him to require conditioning.
Saving face from the point of view that instead of saying that we're ostracizing him and you pushed him out the team, he's training with the stiffs, that actually what he's doing is conditioning work. Because if we are looking to get rid of him, then perhaps saying he's training with the stiffs doesn't send out the right message for anyone who wants to buy him.
I think if you want to buy him, you want to buy him. I don't think the people will look at him on his technique and his ability, and understand that his ability, things we've discussed before, but on his ability in Europe, in European leagues, is different, totally different kettle of fish to in the Premier League. I think they'd view it that way. So I'm not sure. I don't know.
I may be wrong, but I just got a feeling that this is just a device to force him out, basically.
If whoever buys him on the basis of the show reel that we bought him on from YouTube, then we'll get our money back.
Yeah,
easily.
No doubt.
Because he never made a mistake in that show reel. Never made a mistake.
Surprised that. That's a real surprise. We'd have to just make sure it gets cut. Because it was probably a 15-minute show reel before, and it's probably now 18 minutes. With the addition of the 3 years or whatever that he's been at Spurs, and we just want to make sure that it stays at 15 minutes and they don't see the addition, the bonus bloopers, the Spurs bloopers.
In the last 4 years of his life.